don't panic. Bones sinking like stones, all that we fought for. Homes, places we've grown, all of us are done for. We live in a beautiful world. Yeah, we do, yeah, we do. We live in a beautiful world. And the show's about you, PJ, not the song. Good afternoon. So,
hello.
Why did you pick that song?
I think Don't Panic struck a chord because I know so many people that do panic when it comes to relationships and sex education. And I thought it was really lovely just to give that message out that you don't need to panic. If you're a parent, if you're a member of staff, if you're a young person, because it's okay. We just need to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. And so I'm remembering back to my days of sex education. We just sniggered and goodness knows what else. And I think things have changed in the last 40 years. It's probably longer than 40 years. But anyway, PJ, tell us who you are, what you do.
So I'm PJ, founder of Rephrase, an organisation that provides healthy relationships and sex education without the awkwardness. And basically, we exist to create safe spaces for young people, as well as adults. It's kind of evolved into all stages and ages to talk about stuff, because young people often are waking up with questions every day, looking for answers, and so often turning to pornography or their peers for information. So we are about creating that space, opening it up, removing the shame and the taboo, just because we want to be able to provide answers, the accurate answers, and just make people realise it's okay to talk about this stuff. Because we've had generations of people before who've either felt too unconfident or nervous, anxious about it, and then they raise up their young people, and then they become adults and raise their children, and this cycle kind of repeats. So, we're living in a sexualized society, whether we like it or not, and it's really about empowering young people, informing them so they can be critical thinkers and develop healthy relationship behaviours.
Fantastic. I'm just thinking, as you're saying that, in my day, we didn't have the internet or anything like that, so we couldn't go and find out things that way. I can remember my dad telling me about the birds and the bees, and that was like, yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, things have moved on, haven't they? Things have moved on, and we can talk about these things, and like you say, it's without the awkwardness. So I love that. We're going to come on to that in a little bit. I just want to find out a little bit about how you're getting on social media and what you think of LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, I love LinkedIn. For me as a business, LinkedIn is better, whereas I kind of exist on other platforms just to be a presence, because in this day and age, as a business owner, you need to be out there. But LinkedIn's great because I find people watch you from afar, and they just suss out your vibe, your content, your ethos, and the person behind the business. So actually, it kind of breaks down all that awkwardness with a cold call. They suss you out and then make contact. And I just think that's really helpful. It's a professional platform, but you can kind of give that glimmer of who you are as well and why you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because you're talking with other people that are running businesses, that are connecting with other people as well. And it's absolutely superb. And people like Brian, who is in the US of A. So hi, Brian. Good morning. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us today. If anyone's got any questions, please just shout out, because I'm sure you're happy to answer any question, PJ.
Yep, within reason.
Fantastic. And yeah, we gotta. So when I upload this to the podcast, depending on what we've talked about, I've got to tick a box whether it's suitable for minors or not. So I think swearing would obviously, but I think what we're talking about today should be absolutely fine, unless someone comes in with an amazing question, which we don't have to publish or ask. Anyway, so you like LinkedIn. Do you use other social media platforms, PJ?
I do. I'm on Facebook and Insta as a business. But like I said, it's more about having a presence out there. So I get engagement, but don't tend to get business from that. So I know I need to focus my attention on LinkedIn. And most of the time it's all through word of mouth or recommendation anyway. So it's just about, running a business in today's age. I think you need to have that social media presence, just because people then know you exist and know what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good question from I'm gonna say Jalala. What's your favorite and least favorite part of your job?
That's an amazing question.
It's good, isn't it?
I'll start with my least favorite. That is running a business and juggling the different elements when ultimately you've got a passion and drive to do what you want to do. And that's why you started the business, but you've got to balance that. So there's kind of a marriage between the different elements. So sometimes that's a little bit frustrating. My favorite thing is being in the company of people, young people, particularly when they ask those questions, and there's a freedom. There's that kind of moment when they know they can ask questions and there's no judgment, there's no criticism. It's just, let's talk about it. And you can genuinely see them relax and kind of go, oh, that's okay then. And they've got they've got these worries and burdens potentially for years if they can't talk about it. And then suddenly you've given them this space, and the questions I get, like the anonymous questions, are brilliant. And the feedback, the anonymous feedback, because you kind of think that's where this is happening. And I get goosebumps sometimes with what I read. And when I work with parents or staff, I physically see their shoulders lower. So like they relax, they kind of go, oh, it's okay. Because you're almost giving them permission to ask all these questions, and they realize it's not quite as bad or scary as they thought. So I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's why Rephrase exists.
Oh, fantastic. So tell me, have you got any business from what you do on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I have. And like I said, people watch from afar. So I've been contacted. I travel all over the country. So LinkedIn means that there's no kind of boundaries to counties. And in 1 month, I ended up traveling to Wiltshire, Surrey, London, Hull, and then back to Devon. So it was frantic. And not every month's like that, but it just shows that actually you've got this kind of platform to connect professionally. And it's brilliant. I love it.
No, fantastic. We met because we both live in Devon. We met on a stage in Devon, didn't we, when we were doing an event locally? Yeah, no, superb. In fact, I took a photo of you and I used that in my banner last week to promote you. What on earth am I holding? And what on earth are you resting on my shoulder?
Well, I've got my little friends here, actually. So we have syphilis.
Okay.
And nice. I think you also had chlamydia on your shoulder.
I did. Yes, I did. It's cleared up now, so that's fine.
We had a few vulvas.
Right. Okay.
It was a fairly average networking event.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what was the blue thing I was holding then?
I've got that. Oh, so I have it here. Yeah, that is the internal structure of the clitoris.
There we go. There we go. I never thought that I'd be talking about these items on.
I'm sure you didn't.
on my show. So they're crocheted, which makes it more fun and makes it easier to talk about for the youngsters. So what are the questions that you get most?
It's, well, for starters, that's less triggering because I don't know who's in the room, so I always have to think about the 1%. And you don't know people's experiences. So it's very much about trying to engage on a level which is non-threatening, but also enables you to then have those conversations about accurate body parts. And this comes back to safeguarding all the time. So it's very much about that, helping them be physically and emotionally safe. And that goes down to knowing body parts. So pet names are fine, but actually let's talk about what the names are as well. So if you need to go to a GP or something happens, which you're concerned about, you can actually articulate it. I had a really sad story of a year 6 student who went to school and said to the teacher, oh, my uncle wants to eat my cookie. And the teacher said, that's great. It's really good to issue, which was missed because she wasn't aware of the pet name. So there's a really serious side to all of this, but these resources are just a way of kind of breaking the ice. And, as we did at that networking event, we threw kind of chlamydia out and Andy caught it. So, it just breaks the ice. And that's what this is so important, to be able to have these conversations. So to say to someone, nice one, Andy, you caught chlamydia. It was wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Did break the ice. I love that. So your target audience then, who are you speaking to most or working with most?
Originally, I had imagined it would be students from secondary school age, because that was kind of where my training started, and it still is, but it's really evolved. And what I'm finding now is I've got lots of external organisations like the Probation Service, Devon and Cornwall Police, the YMCA, pregnancy centres, all looking for their staff to feel empowered. And so any organisation that works with young people or young adults, often those people in those kind of teacher roles or leadership roles are going, because, you know, we've all got our baggage and our fears. So actually to go in and help them, empower them and educate them to be better educators in their context, that seems to be a lot of what I do at the moment. So it's, I mean, with all these things, it varies, but I've seen that kind of shift. And for parent groups, it's often the fear of, you know, the impact of pornography on sex and relationships. How do you have those conversations? And we know from the latest report from the Children's Commissioner that children are as young as 13, and we know young as 7 and 8 who are accessing it by accident, but it's happening. So it's like that real, let's talk about this. This is the reality. We need to help parents, carers, teachers, staff, whatever, to be in a position so they can have those conversations and, you know, develop that poker face, even if you're cringing inside. By developing that calm poker face, you're giving that young person permission to ask questions and come back and talk to you. And if they choose to ask you a question, that is a massive privilege because they've chosen you. So yeah, my work varies. It does vary, definitely.
There's a lot of reframing going on there, isn't there, PJ?
Yeah. And that's why I've called it Rephrase as well. So it's short for providing healthy relationships and sex education. But Rephrase is about rephrasing that conversation, because we need to go beyond risks, reproduction and disease, because there is so much more. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's, and again, it's about getting a healthy relationship, isn't it? Not making it sordid, dirty, or whatever else, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because we grow up without a toolkit, and yet we hear about healthy relationships all the time. But how do we know what that looks like? And if we don't have role models, how do we know what it feels like? So that's where it's really important to go over those kind of key concepts for all ages. And when I work with domestic abuse survivors, they tell me we just didn't know. We were never taught. So to identify toxic behavior, naming it, calling it out is so powerful. And if we can give those tools to young people, you know, I was in a school, and there were year 10 students around 14, 15. And at the end of the session, after we'd been talking about red flag behavior, they wrote, "I won't let him treat me in an unhealthy way anymore." And we'd been talking specifically about gaslighting. So in that moment, I got goosebumps because I realized that student had not only recognized what was going on, they were able to name it and they were going to call it out, which is life changing, because actually, hopefully it means in a few years' time, they won't be sitting in a domestic abuse group. So this stuff is so important.
Yeah. So you're talking to youth workers as well, because I used to run a youth club years ago, and so you know, we never had any training on that sort of thing.
And you've got a brilliant platform. If you're meeting regularly with young people, you are in such a privileged position. So, you know, if Rephrase can come along and help you in your role, that's amazing, because you can reach so many more people.
So are you out every single day teaching this?
I work full time, but I'm not client facing every day, because obviously there's lots of different elements when you are running a business. So it's just as and when the bookings and needs are there. It's a bit of a roller coaster running a business, as you can imagine. So it is one of the, I've learned to be kind of be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And in terms of like the social media side, there's a real pressure when you start a business to look at the engagement and the likes and all this stuff. And I've realized that actually people are watching you, even if they're not engaging, because people say stuff in real life and I kind of go, "Oh, I had no idea you followed me," you know. And it's just important, I think, to remember that it's the people you're impacting. So, you know, in that moment, even if it is one person that's heard one thing that's going to make a difference to them, that makes this worthwhile. So it's about kind of loving the social media side, but also remembering actually it's about the people you're impacting, and that's what's important.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Sheila, thank you, Sheila. I love this question. And I've got a grandson who's the same age, so this is absolutely perfect. I teach my toddler I can't say that word, anatomically correct names. But what's the best response to the uncomfortable adults with a 3-year-old correctly naming body parts? What a fantastic question.
It is brilliant. And I would congratulate anybody who's teaching, because, like, you know, this is an arm or a limb. We have no issue. This is a nose, ears. We have no issue. But the minute we have that kind of uncomfortable feeling about those parts, we are saying, actually, these aren't things to talk about. There's a lot of shame around this. We shouldn't mention it. And that's the issue. So actually, we're talking just about body parts. So if we can give those young children names, they are just learning all body parts the same, and it's they'll grow up to be healthier humans, to be honest. And like I said, it is safeguarding, and there is the element of medical health as well. So really, really important. And I think if I was in the company of uncomfortable adults and a child said something, I would congratulate that child and said, you'd say, well done, Dunny, that's exactly right. And then really be normal about it, because the more we can normalize it, we're going to help other adults who might be feeling uncomfortable to feel a bit more relaxed about it.
Yeah. Don't call it a penis when Nanny Stella's around. We'll just call it a PP. But the rest of the time it's fine. And that is so right. Yeah, it is normalizing it. Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Sheila. Great question. And that's the thing. So I guess we start teaching the children about these things when they're asking the questions. Not wait until they're older. Because like you say, this is an arm, that's a penis, that's it.
Yeah. And it's like anything, you wouldn't want a child to sit at maths GCSE without teaching them the curriculum first. So why are we expecting young people to grow up with this kind of safe understanding of sexuality and relationships if we don't even have the conversations or talk about what the body parts are? So it really is like any other form of education. And I genuinely think healthy relationships are the backbone to a functioning society. So we need to give people the skills. How do you communicate? How do you argue effectively? Because we're going to argue. We're all different humans. So all these things, we kind of take for granted. But it's just really important to help children from a young age. And when they ask questions, it's because they want to know. So, it's fighting that desire to go, we'll leave it for another day. And actually going, this is amazing. They want answers. So let's talk about it. And they'll only take, the rest of it will go over their head. They'll take what they can take at that age. But I always say it's better to have 100 1-minute conversations than have 100 conversations. So it's like, basically don't try and have the talk. Don't do the talk. Think of it as scaffolding. So you're building up that kind of knowledge bank. It's a kind of slow cooker approach rather than microwave cooking, that kind of idea.
Yeah, and an open forum as well, so that with my grandson, with Sheila's toddler, it's sort of like, just ask any question. It's absolutely fine. And at that age, every question is why, isn't it? And so why not answer those questions? I can remember, you're not old enough to know, and I ask questions. Stop asking questions and stuff like that. And I think, well, hang on a minute. The child is asking a question. Let's help them. Let's, and look, I really don't know. Let's Google it together. Let's find out together.
It's good for them to know that you don't have the answers. It's good to learn together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're coming down to their level if you don't know as well, and the honesty comes out as well. How did you get into all of this, PJ?
Well, from the age of 14, I knew I wanted to work in this field, which was a little bit strange, I know.
That's very strange.
And at the time I was at a Catholic school as well, and we had one remaining nun on the teaching staff. So you can imagine the shock when I announced what I wanted to do. And at that stage, I wanted to be a sexual therapist. So, said that's what I wanted to do. So from a really young age, I just knew that was a real kind of passion. And then I ended up working with year 10 and 11 students. And it was like a light bulb moment when I realized I wanted to be proactive and preventative rather than wait until further down the line, when perhaps things are broken down and therapy is required. So it was that kind of, let's invest in that age group. And that's kind of where it was born. But as I said, it's evolving to adults as well at different stages and ages. So, for example, pornography doesn't discriminate. So there are people of all sorts of ages and stages that have been impacted negatively. So that brings its own issues. And so it really is varied. And I think it's about just being available and helping in any way that Rephrase can, really.
Yeah. Okay. What's the advice then to anybody that's got a teenager as a child? What's the best advice? They start asking questions, because like you say, it's a generational thing, and we've been brought up, and it's sort of like we've kept it under the carpet and all that sort of malarkey. And your teenager comes home, or it might be a little bit younger. Mummy, daddy, here's a question for you. What's the best advice there, PJ?
First of all, thank them for asking. So acknowledge the question. And
Like that.
also deep down, just remember, like I said, they've come to you with a question. That means they trust you and they feel they can ask you a question. And that is so huge, whether you're a parent, carer, friend, relative, whatever it is. If that's happened, that's really exciting. Okay. So it's acknowledging it, thanking them for it. And if you genuinely don't know, just say, that's a really great question, but I don't know at the moment, but I will find out. And make sure you do and get back to them, because if you don't, you're then saying to them, actually, we don't talk about this. This is something we don't want to say, you know.
Yeah.
So it very much is that. And then if you do have the answers, just break it down a bit. Try it again. Remember the poker face, be really chilled, and just give them a little bit of information. If they want more, they'll ask more, or they might ponder on it and come back at a later time and ask more. And that's great, because again, it's opening up, having those conversations. Distancing techniques really great. So using stuff you might watch on TV or people out and about. So you can talk about themes, but you're directing it at the other sort of scenario or person rather than at each other. It's the same with eye contact. Try and avoid staring at each other when you're having the conversation. Just, you know, if you're driving or your hands are busy cooking or whatever it is, walking the dog, all of that can help create that chilled space. And it's just another conversation at the end of the day.
Sure. No, I love that. Could I go to your website? Have you got resources there? So if my teenager comes out and says, "Oh, Dad, can I go to your website and find that information out there? Do you have resources?
You can go to the website, but I don't have resources on the website. So it would be a case of contacting the office, and then we'd have further chats about what was required. But okay. Yeah, absolutely. The website is there and available.
Have you written a book yet?
No, I haven't actually. Someone suggested I should, about the whole where it started from, because it's been an interesting journey. And since launching the business, the opportunities that have happened are mind-blowing. So maybe one day.
Okay, so have you got time to tell us this journey and how it all started then?
Well, it was from that age of 14, which is really weird, you know, and it kind of developed from there. Then I did psychology as my degree, and then I was going to specialize in sexual therapy, and then had a family. So we ended up with 3 children, 2 of whom are twins. It was the best buy one, get one free offer we ever had. They're amazing. Wow. So then I did work that fitted in with family life. So it wasn't until a bit later that I actually decided to go for it, you know, as they're now kind of young adults. So it's kind of got to that stage where I'm able to kind of grow the business now. But yeah, so it's been like that. And ever since then, it's been a case of stepping out of my comfort zone, which is incredibly scary. And anyone running a business will get that. You know, there's the imposter syndrome. There's that whole, but I'm learning just to say yes and then panic later.
Yes.
or not panic at all. Because you don't know what's coming, do you? And I just think being open to opportunities is really important.
I had a guest on quite a while ago now, Neville Wright, and he wrote the book. The answer's yes. Now, what's the question? And that's how he built his business.
Yeah.
He went from cleaning windows to selling his business to Morrison's for 70 million. All because of that. Yeah, absolutely. And so you never know what's going to happen. So I do like that philosophy. Say yes and then worry about it afterwards, because that's a great attitude to have, because you never know. You really never know.
And it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what any day's going to be. So your kids, right?
Yeah.
Are they proud of their mum, or is it embarrassing of what you do?
They love it. No, they absolutely love it. I'm so thankful. I think because we were quite relaxed when we were, you know, raising them anyway, and it's in my DNA, so it feels very natural. But they're young adults. They're so excited and they're so proud of it all, and they love it. And they've said to me they love it when they're new friends, like if they go to college and now they've left and they're doing their next jobs and things. When they meet people and they say, "Oh, what does your mum do?" They just love it.
What do they say?
It will either clear a room, or people will go, "Wow, that's amazing. You know, tell me more." But they just say, you know, she's a relationships and sex educator and she helps empower young people. So it's great. They love it. And I love the fact they're excited about it. And they've become like mini rephrasers, because they talk to their friends and they give the advice. And I'm listening thinking, that's brilliant. That's what I would have said. So they've taken on stuff as well. And then they're able to almost sow more seeds. So, you know, if they've got friends in toxic relationships, they're able to actually kind of articulate what's going on and say, you know, a bit worried about what I saw, kind of thing. And I think that's incredibly powerful, because then you've got a peer-on-peer thing going on. So it's not a lecture from an adult or a parent or a teacher. It's literally your mates going, that's not okay, and helping them see that. So, yeah, it's great.
No, fantastic. Are you able to share us a story that's got a happy ending? I appreciate that some of this might be confidential, but is there anything that you can share that, that would inspire us?
So in terms of client stuff?
Yeah, or working with youngsters or training or what have you.
I think it's when there's probably two main categories. In terms of young people, they've asked questions. Either I can tell that they've been watching porn, or they've got a porn habit which they are not happy with, but they don't know what to do. Or the other side of it tends to be the toxic relationship stuff. So when they've kind of got brave enough to write those questions down, and you can then kind of engage on that level, it's that release of, oh, I'm okay, I'm going to be okay. Because the minute you talk about it and someone isn't shocked or, reprimanding them, it's just about having that conversation. It's just that freedom it brings. And that's so important, because otherwise we're potentially doing them a disservice, and they'll grow up to be really anxious young adults, with a lot of baggage that's hidden in the back, and it doesn't need to be there. So I can't obviously give you details, but yes, there have been those times when I've just been so thankful that they've opened up and I've been able to say stuff that's helped them process whatever's going on. But same with adults, talking to adults, and there's stuff going on for them where just by having the conversations, giving them the tools, whatever it might be, you can see that shift in how they are. And it's just rewarding. It's beyond rewarding, really.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Right. How do we get to work with you?
So the best way probably is to go onto the website, which is www.rephrasesw.co.uk. And on there are all the social media handles. So you can contact the office via that way. Or you can contact me directly at pj@rephrasesw.co.uk.
Fantastic. And I'm guessing you're on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So come and see you on LinkedIn, follow you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And do you do much networking if we ever want to bump into you?
I do. I did a lot at the very beginning, but I'm finding now, partly time restrictions, but also it's a very niche topic. So it's not, networking events are not necessarily the place where I'm going to find more business. I love that kind of getting it out there. But when I've got to marry up time, the best use of my time, sometimes it means I don't get to those events. But periodically I do. I dip my toe in again.
No, fantastic. And what question haven't I asked you today that I should have done?
What would I say to my 16-year-old self?
Oh no, I'm going to ask you that one in a minute. I just wondered if I've missed anything that we.
I don't think so. I think we've kind of covered it all, really. Yeah.
Good. Oh, it's been delightful chatting to you. Before I'm going to ask you that question in a second. Before we do that, I'm just going to let everybody know who my guest is next week. And next week is going to be my very last show here on LinkedIn. So you're my penultimate guest on this show, but I will be bringing a new show. Next week, I have got the one, the only Mark Ormrod. I cannot wait to catch up with him. I met him at a speaking event in the summer. He really is Mr. Inspirational. So we're going to have a chat with him next week. Another Devon guy. So keep it in the Southwest for my last two shows. You've been lovely today, PJ. So my very last question is to you. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
I would say ignore self-limiting beliefs. Remember why you love what you do and use that to energize every move thereafter.
Boom. That's perfect. Yeah. PJ, thank you so much for being on my show. Thank you for all the amazing questions. No, absolute pleasure. And hopefully see you soon. Cheer, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never